So we're going to start this off. Various panel session 1, disruptors, and since there's disruptors in 2023, we're not going to talk about AI disruptors. I think that Mr. Duncan and his panel is going to cover that. We're going to talk about, I guess, what we'd call practical, pragmatic disruptors that have been affecting the insurance claimed industry and affecting some of our civil litigation law firms, such as burnout, brain drain, aging workforce, shallow candidate pool, keeping attracting talent, keeping the talent, onboarding the talent, retirement cliffs, stuff like that. But before I do that, I just wanted to introduce the various people on our panel. Immediately to my left is Krista Glenn. She's the Executive Vice President and Chief Claims Officer at Westfield Specialty, an exciting newer insurance company. To her left is Colleen Coriston, an AVP and EPL at Chubb in Jersey City, who I've known for 6-7 years. To her left is Paul Messerschmidt, a home office claims analyst at MSIG Insurance Services. And to his left, my partner Brian Davis, who, like myself, has been a lifer at Mueller & Porter since law school. So that's our panel. We have slides which we're not going to go off the slides at all. You can look at them as we talk. We really kind of did it for CE purposes, to be honest with you. We're happy to take questions once we get rolling. But we reserve the right to motion to strike or quash those questions. Maybe we'll just start off with the topic of burnout. Burnout, as I just read, reported to be very high in the insurance industry in a publication I read last week at 39%, according to one study. Maybe I'll just start it off by asking Krista. The study cited poor quality of work experience and being overwhelmed by the number of daily manual tasks. What are some of the causes of burnout that you're seeing at your company, and then others can join in?
Yeah, I would say that we don't probably have enough talent in all of our spaces, right? Whether it's in claims or whether it's in a law firm. So the good people, the reward for good work is more work. So the good people get more on their plates and more on their plates and more on their plates until the breaking point. And I think that part of the problem that we have too is when I first started working, the term work-life balance didn't exist. And now it does, and you hear it all the time, right? And so I think what we have to do is get people to understand that yes, you want to have balance, and yes, your family's always the most important. But work-life balance, in my opinion, can't be achieved every day, right? So I've said this many times, there are many parts of my career where, for a week I'm the greatest mom on earth and I kind of suck at work. And then there's other weeks where I'm killing it at work and my kids don't know where I am. So, there's a balance that you have to achieve over your career, but I think that people put a lot of pressure on themselves that they want to be the best at work every day and the best at home every day, and I think that leads to burnout. I think in many ways what I've said to people is give yourself a break. You can't be all things to all people every single day. Take it as it comes, give yourself a break, but the burnout thing is real, and it's because I think the good people just get more and more and more on their plate, and there just isn't enough people to spread the work to anymore.
Are there certain things your company is doing to try to reduce the burnout or try to accommodate people so that there isn't as much increased burnout?
So we're a startup, and startup, you kind of know you're going to have a hectic lifestyle when you join it. Right now, the claim department is only 22 people, and so all of us have a lot on our plates, but we knew that coming in. But one of the things that we are paying attention to is for the claim handlers that we've hired, making sure the pendings don't get out of control. Right? There's a balance when you're in a startup of expense versus your profitability, but at the same time, if I'm hiring these really great talented people, and if their pendings become ridiculous, they can go across the street for $5,000 more and a little bit less work, they'll do that. So we have to pay attention to what we pay them, how much work we put on their plates, and to how they're feeling about it.
Kelly, what do you think?
Yeah, going off that a little bit, and Chubb being a bigger global company.
22.
Volume definitely is an issue for our experienced handlers and then our new handlers, of course. If you are just overwhelmed with the claim volume, it's hard to kind of stand out from the pack. I'm seeing a lot being added to our handlers' plates in terms of more administrative or operational functions. So we're certainly looking into making sure our analysts have the tools in order to assess the claim, push it towards resolution, and then possibly taking some things off their plates in terms of the file maintenance and the things we just need to do to maintain best practices. So recognizing the volume is high, getting add to staffs, which is always a struggle at every year. But once we get the numbers in where we had analysts handling over 1,000 financial claims in a year, it's just not sustainable. And some of that is we are now monitoring how long it takes to do some of those more administrative tasks in terms of how long is it taking you to get the file into a system to make sure we're documenting it properly. Is there an operations person that could really be doing that so you could focus on
the claim itself,
on the claim side of things?
Paul, what do you think?
Actually, I agree with Colleen and Krista as well. It's funny, just last week, I was speaking with one of the employees that just started with our company 2 years ago, and he was lamenting how he feels like he's getting burnt out already after 2 years with our company. He's working fully remote down here in Florida, but he just seems like he's getting more and more and more work. And I said, I can tell you from experience, for all of my career, it was a weakness in claims to go to your manager or your supervisor and say, I'm overwhelmed, I can't do this, right? And I've seen it over and over again. And I said to him, Antonio, have you talked to your boss, your manager about this? And he said, well, no, I really can't talk with him. I said, you have to understand something. If you don't say anything, they're not going to know. And they're just going to keep giving you more work, or as you progress and you do a great job, you're going to get even more work, right? Because that's our business. I said, you have to talk to your manager. I said, why don't we start setting up where you call me, and this is going to dovetail into something we're going to talk about later, but why don't you and I set up where we talk once a week, and just so you can vent to me how you feel about things, and maybe I can give you suggestions on how to work with this and how to fix it. So that's one of the things that I'm seeing in burnout in employees that are newer with the company or newer at doing claims, and they're not sure how to handle this. So that's one of the things I ran into.
Brian, what maybe you could tell us a little bit about what we have done at the firm or tried to do at the firm since March 13th of 2020, Friday the 13th, the pandemic, to kind of help with retention and hence lack of burnout with our onboarding processes and our people.
So I would say in the last 5 years, we've developed a robust onboarding and training program. I think gone are the days where an associate comes in and you give them their laptop and a case list and say, good luck, my door's open if you have questions. That makes newer attorneys uncomfortable, or more uncomfortable now. So to combat that, we've developed this onboarding and training program developed by lawyers and implemented by lawyers. Yes, it takes time out of their workday, a considerable amount of time in billable hours, to implement this. But we've found that taking that time is outweighed by the benefit of a smooth onboarding process. And if you can make your newer associates or claims professionals comfortable from the beginning, it allows for an easier transition. At least that's what we're seeing.
On the burnout topic, have any of your companies implemented any type of formal mentor-mentee program or considered more of a mentor-mentee program, both to attract talent and in terms of retention? And what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, we at Chubb have a formal mentor program for all of our new hires. Especially we get folks in that we consider CAPS, claim associate programs, which means you have no formal background. A lot of them have some sort of legal background but never worked for carrier claims. And then we also partner with outside sources as well, Themis, whatever sort of resources we have to build that community, right? It's harder, I find, to leave a company or an industry if you really have ties to it. And it's huge to make sure you have a mentor, whether it be formal or informal, to keep you and kind of retain that talent, especially with new hires.
I think people talk a lot about, excuse me, they talk a lot about culture, right? And if you feel like you're part of the culture, it's harder to leave. It's a stickier proposition. The problem I think we all face is bringing in new people in this remote or fully remote or semi-remote setting, where at some point, if you're sitting in your living room working and the only difference between this job and that job is a new laptop, that's a problem for all of us. Right? I mean, claim handling is claim handling is claim handling wherever you go. Like, each company wants to do something different, whether it's their product lines are different or the way their culture is different. The issue that I think we face that is a real challenge is, A, how do you train people in this environment where it's not so easy to do the pop-in, like, hey, Maz, I have a question, right? Which you can do in 2 seconds when you're in the office. And then how do you get people to feel like they're really connected to the environment and to the company if they're not around the other people? And I don't have a great answer for it. I mean, we're trying to get people back into the office 4 days a week, which is not 100% popular with everybody. But I think at the end of the day, if we don't get people to come back on some regularity and the experienced people are there when the new people are there, it's a real problem for our industry. It's a major training issue, and it's a lack of culture and stickiness for our employees.
And to add to that, I'm part of the hiring committee at Muehlek and Porter, and undoubtedly, almost every interview ends with questions, and the first question is, what's the firm culture? What are you doing outside of the office? Are there events? We do happy hour, we do a bowling event. The newer, younger generation of workers want that work-life balance that we talked about earlier. And part of that is, how are we getting together, not just in the office, but outside of the office, to really get to know your coworkers.
But to that point, because I'm on the hiring committee with you, it's really hard to answer that culture question. Because I say, well, what was our culture like prior to Friday the 13th, 2020, or what's been our culture since Friday 2020? Yeah, before we were in 5 days a week. People forget that we actually came to work every single day, and that we had lunches on Fridays, I think it was, we brought lunches once a month. And then we did our happy hours, and we did our bowlings against clients, and we did softball games and stuff like that. But then since then, instead of once a month, we're doing lunches every single Wednesday, which is fine, which is our team day for everyone to come in. But as the general counsel and a good friend of mine of a client said, it's really tough, I'm gonna get this wrong. It's really tough to build a team when everyone's in their own locker room. Being their kitchen. And so it is different, and it is difficult. I think Krista just mentioned it. I call it learning by osmosis, where I used to go into Tom Porter's office, and I'll be quick, Brian, and Tom would say, here, Maz, let's talk about this case and this case. And then he would get a phone call from a PIA plaintiff's attorney, and I'd get to listen to him deal with that attorney and how he dealt with it. And then he would get another case, and then I would sit on his couch, and then he'd say, okay, Maz, I have time to talk to you now. And then we would talk about those 2 cases that we came in to talk about. He'd give me 2 more that I didn't know, and I got to listen and learn for how he dealt with all those situations. Well, you can't set that up by Zoom and Teams, right? Or when your young associate wants to be on the call when you talk to the plaintiff's attorney about a discovery issue, it's kind of hard. It's easy to have them in your office when you're doing it and the other side doesn't know, but to put them on Teams or Zoom, it loses all that intuitiveness, that flavor. I'm not saying I have any of the specific answers just yet. I think we're making progress. I don't know, we can talk a little bit about this now. We're a 3 and 2 firm. We're kind of a hard 3 and 2, 3 in the office, 2 outside. We are finding, and we put a rule in place for the newer associates and paralegals. We say for 2 months, you're 4 days a week. Because I think the younger lawyers and paralegals, they kind of thirst for being there. They want to be there. They want to listen to their colleagues. And I'm hearing, maybe I'll ask you guys, from insurance companies that newer employees, they like to be around their younger colleagues or their in-person colleagues because they can learn more. Is that fair?
I think so, and I think that what we will see over time is those people who are willing to be in the office more, who are spending more time with their colleagues, with their peers, with people listening to what people are saying that are around them, they're going to progress more quickly, and then we're going to have the problem of people who've been home saying, but you told me I could be at home. Why didn't I get promoted? You know, it's a problem that we're starting to see and that we're going to see, but I think about, like you said, Maz, I think about all that learning I did sitting in a claim desk where, you know, the woman on this side of me, I was listening to her saying like, ooh, that doesn't sound that great. And then the person on this side of me, I'm listening to, I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna say that. That's not even somebody who was talking to me. That was just, like you said, in the atmosphere. And, you know, I think it's unfortunate that a lot of the younger folks don't see that. Now, there are some who do, and, you know, I've talked about this before. I have 2 daughters in their 20s, and it's like a little sociology experiment in my family. I got one kid who says she never wants to work in an office ever. She's perfectly content. She's an introvert. She likes to be home. She's fine. I have another one who goes into the office every day of the week, even Fridays, because she can walk to work, and she sometimes calls me and says, it's creepy, nobody's here but me. And I'm like, well, you're in the office. Call somebody, let them see you're in the office. Let them see your background. So, I mean, there are kids that want to do it, right? There are young people who want to be around others, that want to get out of their, you know, very tiny apartments. They want to be out there. And then there are some that just don't want to do it. And I think they're going to see their progression is lagging. And that maybe that's the answer when they realize they're not keeping up with their peers.
I think you're right about that, because that's a whole nother issue of advancement, because at some point people are going to want better raises or become a junior partner or become a supervisor or become an AVP, and they're not going to hit that plateau.
And
go ahead.
just a couple on that. If you're not going into the office, it's harder for management to identify high potential employees.
Absolutely.
Or emerging leaders. There's only so much you can get from a screen.
Right.
You really need to be in person collaborating to say, you know, I think this woman is you know, made for leadership or management, and so I think that in person, it has to be there for the firms and companies to sustain themselves and identify the next generation of leadership.
So piggybacking on something that you were saying about employees, one on this side, one on this side, our company just went to hoteling. I don't know if any of the other companies have done that yet, at least the claims department, the underwriting department. So now you don't have a specific place where you sit, okay? You book a spot on that floor of where you can sit. And at first, the people that have been there a long time were like, I'm not liking this. I'm not thinking this is a good idea. But for the newer employees or the employees that are less experienced, especially in the claims department, now they're getting the opportunity when they have to come in, which by the way, we're in 3 days a week. We just went to 3 days from 2 days, but now they're getting the opportunity of hearing a different person on either side of them each day talking, and getting the benefit of hearing them talking to attorneys on the phone, other claims people on the phone. So they're getting a much bigger, broader variety of how people handle their claims. So I think that actually helps, and I don't think that's even something that the company thought about when they went to hoteling, but that's what I'm seeing.
In terms of candidate pool of people starting at your company or talent that's applying at your company, I know for our law firm that the quality of the candidates has been really up and down and different, I should say, for the last 3 or 4 years. Is it improving at all in your opinion? When is it going to improve? Why aren't people going into insurance? Why aren't people going into insurance defense? Any thoughts on that?
Well, we actually had talked about that just earlier this week, I believe, where when I first started in the business, you got a company car for free. I'm sold. And that's how I started, right? They don't do that anymore, or they do it typically because you outsource investigations nowadays as a organization. So we were talking about how you have to find that incentive for people to come on board, younger people to come on board. It's not the company car anymore, but maybe it's something else. And I was giving the example of when I started with Selective Insurance many, many years ago, they had a daycare on the premises. And I think that's something that needs to be considered for these younger employees, that they're worried about daycare. If they can bring their kids with them to the office and bring them over to the building next door or somewhere close by and drop those kids off, they know where they are, they're close to them if their child gets sick or something. And I think that's something that might be able to draw more people to working for us.
Sure can, Beth.
Branding of insurance. And I've been working in the industry. Every insurance person I've ever spoken to, I always ask this question: how did you decide to get into insurance? No one says when I was little I wanted to be an insurer.
No.
And so when you talk to people outside the insurance industry about insurance, you don't think it sounds so boring. I mean, what's the language, the branding of insurance to make it attractive?
Yeah, and that's an excellent point, and something we're focused on now is going out to law schools. So we have an office in Midtown Manhattan and in Jersey City, and there is a huge pool of law schools in that area where I know when I was in law school, this career path was never presented to me as an option. So making sure we're getting in there on the career days, it's actually funny because the law schools don't really know where to put the carriers because they have the public sector and the private sectors come in, and we're corporate, but we're not practicing law. But it's been a big initiative for us to get in there and let law students know that this is a viable career option, and we push the work-life balance that you can have versus if you go into private and have those billable hours. I know some undergrads now, which did not exist when I was in college, have risk management or insurance degrees you can get. Like that is your major. But in law school, it really is not discussed. So we have found a lot of success with getting into the career days. We normally are going with the private sector and just speaking to the students, you know, that 3L year, do I want a clerkship? Do I want to do transactional versus litigation? And showing them, hey, there's this whole world out here that you can use your skills.
I think that the other thing too that we've done as an industry to ourselves, right? You're right. There's all kinds of risk management degrees that are out there. I've had a number of risk management majors work in claims over the years, and I will say largely because they didn't get a job in underwriting, but they wanted to get into the company. And they spent a year or two in claims, and I knew the whole time that they weren't going to stay. But I do think they're better underwriters because they spent the first couple years in claims. So I'm fine with that. Like I think as a company, if we identify a smart person, we bring them in, we give them a couple of years in claims, and then they go to underwriting, they're better underwriters, it's a better result. So that's not a problem. The issue I think for us, and I see our company and other companies doing it differently, is yes, the law schools for certain lines, professional lines, financial lines, almost all the claim people have a law degree. But in property, in the casualty worlds, not so much. I think we're doing a better job of emphasizing not a risk management major, because I know I'm going to lose them eventually, but an English major. I need a good writer. I need somebody who can talk, right? Sociology, criminal justice. Like there are a lot of other majors in the humanities that people will be good claim people. They just don't know this is a career. So that's part of the issue. I think it's not just an individual company thing. I think as an industry, we have to emphasize that more. Nobody my age at least has a story about like, my mom was in workers' comp insurance my whole life, and this is what it sounded like. Blah, 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 managed care, blah, 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 blah. I was like, I couldn't care less. Even though she was in the business, I couldn't care less. I'm in the business because my sister-in-law worked at AIG and got $3,000 because she recruited me when I got out of law school. That's why I'm in this business 30 plus years later, because Janice has $3,000 that she wouldn't share with me.
That's the cost.
Well,
Yeah.
That's right.
I'll tell you why I'm insurance defense for 33 years in a second, but I got a question right here.
I've been at nationwide insurance. Same thing. My kids were never going to go into insurance, and I actually got my daughter to start Travelers.
Nice.
She's an underwriter for oil and gas. But a couple of things. One is her training is a year long, and so she's kind of bored, but she's like, I'm going to stick it out because I put so much energy into her. She's feeling that obligation, I guess. So there's a huge investment in her that she's willing to stick it showing what these benefits are on social media, having people talk about that. I think that's a huge area none of us are exploring. I feel like we need to hire young people and go on social media and talk about a normal job that allows you to go to Paris, which means you saved your money, you got a little 401k going. I just feel like that's a big area where we can start getting.
Yeah, and I think that's a generational thing as well. It's a change, yeah, because back in the day, no one talked about their salary. If you got an equity award, no one discussed it. I'm finding the new hires not only want to discuss it, but it's an incentive.
And from the legal perspective, we've found success in partnering with several Boston law schools, particularly the ones with a night program, where we're getting in there, speaking to 1Ls and 2Ls, who will work as a paralegal or law clerk during the day, take classes at night, and you're getting them immersed into the culture, you're getting them acquainted with insurance defense and how it works, and it's beneficial for a couple different reasons, because one, the paralegal understands whether he or she likes insurance defense or not. They get used to the practice even before they graduate or take a bar exam. And we found that this organic coming up through that system has led to some very successful lawyers in our organization.
Yeah, we call it the organic pipeline. I think we're like 6 or 7 in a row right now. It's not perfect. Doesn't mean everyone gets a job, but we also offer some moderate tuition assistance if you get a certain grades. And now we've approached both the law schools to do formal presentations this coming year. We also just established a relationship with the UNH's law school as well in terms of recruiting. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, to your point about the social media, plaintiffs' bar is killing all of us. Like, they are all over it. I mean, Morgan & Morgan doesn't call themselves a law firm anymore. They call themselves a tech company. You know, I mean, I hurt my back at work and you put it in the internet, I almost guarantee that the first thing you're going to see is one of the big, Honda Lahaki, Morgan & Morgan. You're going to see those big law firms' name pop up. They're just better at it than we are. They're more organized than we are. I mean, that's one of the unfortunate things about our industry. I think this group is different because you do share, you refer work, you share. A lot of other lawyers don't do that. If I give you work, then that means I don't have it, right? So that's a real problem as well. And they are organized, they are on social media, and this whole social inflation thing is all about, like, $1 million isn't $1 million anymore. I mean, I've seen verdicts, $1 billion verdict for a single plaintiff trucking accident. How? That's ridiculous. But it's social media, and I think you're right. I think as an industry, we need to be better about it, and I think as a carrier and counsel partnership, we need to work better together on it.
And that's a good point, because the social media, I think, is something that is untapped in the insurance industry to recruit people, right? Everybody is on Facebook now, right? Everybody's on LinkedIn. Everybody's on these different programs like that, or apps. And maybe the insurance industry needs to start thinking about having something like this on those programs and sharing that information. Now you're hitting those people because they don't read. A lot of them are going to Indeed as well now, I believe. But you've got to make it to grab their attention on that social media and make it something that they might be interested in.
What does it say?
When COVID started, the world shut down, that's what I did for my degree. So I got our inside operations hired across 30 states. The one benefit was it opened up my talent pool, because we finally were able to hire outside of Sheboygan, Wisconsin.
I like Sheboygan.
As long as they're fully remote, you're
I'm a cheesehead, so.
That's exactly what I did. I did the videos, I put it together, but I ran it by the young folks, the college kids, and said, what do you guys think? And they had me reorder to the benefits. The order of the things, we put it on LinkedIn, it went out on Facebook and all that. We had at one point I was hired for 7 positions, I had close to 1,500 applicants.
Wow.
And this last time I just hired 9, just got through, and we had close to 800 applicants.
Wow.
It's amazing.
It works. So leverage social. It's like, it's gotta be that quick 30-second hit, and it's gotta be like a TikTok.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. There's another platform, right?
At least that's what they tell me.
Well, they don't know what this job is, right? I mean, I love my job. Tara, you love your job. I know you. I love my job. I can talk about how great this job is and how much it's done for me and for my family and how much you can do in this industry all day long. But when I have neighbors I've lived next to for 20 years, and I think that they think I, handle windshield claims. They don't know what I do. And it's fine, but we have to find a way to advertise it. We have to sell it. When I was looking for a job, at the time I was looking for a job in a bad economy, I was ready to take any job. Now, these kids are like, oh, I'll just sell stuff on, Amazon, and I'll have a side hustle, and I can make ends meet, and I can drive for Uber and Lyft, and I can make ends meet that way. We need to sell the excitement and the opportunity that this industry is. And obviously you're doing it well, but not everybody is.
Can we just pause for a moment on the I love my job and just
I do. I'm crazy. I do. If you're in claims as long as I've been and you don't love it, then you can't do it. You have to find. It's the death and destruction business. If we are in the death and destruction business, you got to find a way to like it. Otherwise, you're just depressed.
I think for the young people, hearing people who have been doing it for 20, 30 years saying at that stage of their career, I love my job. Put you on social media saying,
Yeah, but I'm old. They don't care what I say.
That's right.
I've got to get one of their peers to say they love their job.
That's right.
And then, right? That's the thing. Because to me, you know what it sounds like? The young people, I sound like blah, 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 workers' comp, blah, blah, blah. I love it. So that's the problem, is these young people who don't really understand what this position is. How do we get them, and how do we get them to sell it to their peers? We have done where we've sent young people into the college days.
Yep.
Now, one of us will go
That's a
with
good
because
idea.
we know the stuff, but we'll bring the young person, look how excited he is. He likes it, and that helps a little bit. It helps.
But it's funny because one of the number one questions I get, I'm on our hiring committee and I'm always doing interviews, is when I ask them, do you have any questions for me? What do you like about the company? What do you like about your job? And they want to hear how much we love it.
Yeah.
Right.
And to y'all's points for the attorneys in the room, we have to make a better effort with our young people when we're around them.
Yes.
Complain about how hard the practice are. We'll sit in meetings and we'll talk about things, and they're like, oh, this job is killing me. I don't know how to do it in 30 years. Look, that's filtering down. When you hire new associates, and that's the first thing they hear, they think, what in the world have I got?
Yes.
Very good.
Well, that's why, we all have our own little ways of doing it and strategies and stuff. But one of the things that I like to talk to, and Brian does, is that people say, how long have you been at the firm, as? Since 1988, when I was a summer associate. And they're like, what? Yeah, it's my first job out of law school, because I love it here. Is it perfect? No. Did we always make progress? Yeah. And there's a lot of people like that at our law firm, because, and to your point, Joe, yeah, I love it. I used to do dog bites and slip and falls and this and that. Now I do EPL cases and I mediate 50, 70 cases a year. It's freaking awesome. And I get to work with Colleen, on crazy sexual harassment cases. It's awesome. My sons don't quite understand what I do, but that's okay. Are we it?
So I think one of the things from my perspective is that it sucked the life out of the enjoyment of the positions. So the companies have superimposed this technical, they use computers and the information management system to monitor every detail, and it's a checklist. And people are not enjoying the job because you take intelligent people and you put them in a robot job. And they've lost all the sense of enjoyment of the interaction with people, the customer. And if you talk to the customers say, all they're doing is checking the box. They're not calling me, they're not talking to me, they don't have time to do that. And that, trying to get that management overlay out of the system and get this back into a people thing is what I think would, improve retention, because retention is the
Yep.
problem.
Yep.
Not recruitment, it's retention.
You are
And making
spot
it
on.
satisfactory.
Yeah.
Yeah. We need claim people and lawyers to do more of this and less of this.
Right, and that's
And-
what we're trying to
yeah,
focus
so
on.
you're trying to do
absolutely.
that. We built a claim system from the ground up for our company, and we're very intentional about that. We don't want them burning down with 30 tasks to do something. We want them to be thinkers and doers, not typers. And one of the problem, and this is a generational thing, we all know this, right? Like even my kids in their 20s, they want to do this. I can call them 57 times. You would think I was like somewhere in a ditch somewhere. I'm calling them so many times in a row. They don't answer, and I text them and say, pick up your phone, and they're like, what? Like, you have it in your hand at all times, but they want to do this, and they want to, they want to send an email. They don't want to do a lot of talking on the phone. That's a skill set that I see diminishing, and we've got to work on that too.
Well, I call it the COVID law school effect, right? No one was in clinic. No one wants to talk to anyone. The amount of times I say, call so-and-so, can I send an email? No, I use the word call for a reason.
It's a people business.
I would just say, the technology piece of it that they are accustomed to communicating is much more efficient. It's just not great for a lot of our older clients, right? But I think it's a transition where you've created a time and space issue for them with all these other tasks. So that's the only way of, controlling their time and getting things done.
Yeah.
And how do you kind of balance that and get the other part of it where they communicate with clients and management and their coworkers and make that an enjoyable process again? It's no different for the attorneys because the attorneys have the same thing. How many associates you're beating over the head if you didn't get your hours into the system? You're supposed to complete this effort. I mean, everybody I talk to in the business has the same issue with these people. And you have to get out of that trap.
And that's where the mentorship program comes in.
Because there is an insurance company who is now measuring productivity based on how many keystrokes.
Ugh.
Ugh.
All right, and there's another company that is measuring productivity on how many emails someone sends on a particular day.
That's ridiculous.
Fundamentally flawed.
It
It's not
is.
going to work, yeah.
No, that's a short-term
Yeah.
solution. It's not a long-term
That's why I
solution.
have a new lawyer in my office because she's fed up with her keystrokes and her emails being the measure of productivity.
That's crazy.
And being the manager that's like, pick up the phone, call.
Exactly.
Everyone's talking about how do we measure productivity, but turning us into little factory workers with our keystrokes is not the way to do it.
Yeah.
And that's where the AI is going to come in, I see. I see the AI, and I was talking with one of the senior managers at Mitsui about this. Actually, he was talking to me, and he said, we need to start using the AI to handle the claims. If you've heard about the Lemonade settlement, I don't know if you've heard about it. So this company called Lemonade took a homeowner's claim and put it through their AI program and settled it within 2 seconds, I believe it was. And what he was saying to me was, this AI, and I mean for us older, experienced people, it's like AI, where's the human touch to that? But what he's saying is, these collision claims, these windshield claims, these homeowner claims that are first-party claims, the AI portion of it can look at the coverage, make sure there's coverage there, take the case and settle the case. And now people are getting paid by direct deposit or wire, not waiting for a check. And we're using and teaching the people that are handling the claims part, the bigger claims part of it, and utilizing them for that part of it, and using the AI for all of the smaller stuff that we don't need to learn that stuff. And that's what this generation, it seems to me, is looking for, is let the computer do the work that needs to be done. Teach me how to be investigating the loss, how to negotiate the loss on the bigger cases. And I think that's where the AI is going to pay off.
Thank you very much. I think I'm getting the hook.
Yeah.
And appreciate your time and attention.
Thanks, Maz.
Thank you, everybody.